This is our second year doing the one-to-one pilots here in Hillsborough, and this year is a significant increase in size. So, sorry. Okay. So the one-to-one pilot is basically based around the district technology goals, which are asynchronous learning, globalizing the curriculum, and creating in collaboration and publication of digital content. So asynchronous learning is a big focus of the one-to-one. It allows students to learn when they want, where they learn best and when they learn best. So the idea is I don't necessarily have the 45-minute class that's the only time I learn is at that time. Globalization of the curriculum, well, we kind of saw a lot of samples of that where they were looking at ancient Egypt, and they were looking at different monuments throughout the country. So basically the idea is breaking down the walls of the classroom and visiting places remotely using technology. And then finally, creation, collaboration, and publication of digital content. Well, I think you guys just saw a whole bunch of examples of that this evening. But again, this is talking about the one-to-one pilot. So what's different and what were we looking for when we started the pilot? Well, we wanted to consider the power of what audio and video can do. And you saw some of these samples that our elementary school students were doing. So we said, we're trying to see what that can do for education when it's done on an almost continuous or daily basis. And we asked the teachers when they were doing the pilot, try things you've never done before. Our goal is not to put devices in the hands of students and then just continue the normal route we've always done. Technology can open doors, it can do all kinds of amazing things for education, so we wanted to try something new. So what is the pilots and where do we stand right now? We were running 3 different pilots, one at our intermediate school, one at our middle, and one at our high. At our intermediate school, we have 2 teams. Each team is about 60 students. We are looking at 2 different devices, so what we decided to do was to try 60 of one device and 60 of another device. So there's one team of iPads, and there's another team using the Google Chromebook. At the middle school, the teams are twice as large, so it's about 120 students on the team. So we had to choose one device for this year, and we chose to go with the iPads at the middle school. And then finally at the high school is a totally different animal. So when you go to Art and Road in the middle school, the students will travel from class to class pretty much together. So they'll be using that device throughout the entire day as a class, and their teachers have those students all the time with those devices. When you get to the high school, because we've chosen 12 teachers, each of them using it for one of their classes, it becomes a different animal. When those students come together for that one period, let's say with one of the teachers, they'll be taking that class, they'll be working with the devices, that class will be structured that way. But then what we've asked the students to do is when they go to their other classes, all of a sudden they become very mixed. So you'll have a class with just a few students from the pilot program, and there were just a few devices. So we're looking for feedback from them, and that's kind of a different model in that sense. So at the very beginning, the middle school got started in September, the high school got started in October. The very beginning was focused really on organizational type of tools. A lot of Gmail communication, students in grades 5 through 12, not just in the pilot, were all introduced to having Gmail accounts so that they can communicate with themselves and with their teachers. They were to set up class and personal calendars, a lot of Google Docs and Evernote initiation, getting that kind of up and running. For those who aren't familiar with Evernote, most of us are not familiar with Google Docs because we've been using that now within district. But Evernote is a note-taking program that's web-based and allows synchronization of notes between multiple devices. Remind 101, that was an interesting one that came up that allows teachers to text students homework assignments and so forth. And then finally, student and class Dropboxes and work exchange through using like a Google Drive, Dropbox environment. Okay. So it's early in the game, but things that we're starting to see happen now. We're starting to see a lot of student creation of content. Collaborative note-taking, we're seeing students in class, a couple of us all working together, taking notes in the class. We're seeing a lot of presentations being done. Prezi, actually one of the schools this evening did a Prezi presentation. Also Google Presentation, which is actually what I'm using right now, which is a web-based presentation tool. A lot of videos on edu creations. I'll be showing a few samples of those in just a minute. A couple of the schools have started using Edmodo, which is kind of like a Facebook for the classroom, if you will. It's a closed environment for a class where it's a social media type environment. Teachers that are using that have found that to be really successful. The students are actively participating in that. So these are some examples of student work that they'll just create. And again, like I said, my presentation, you guys have already seen some amazing work that students have done. So I just have small samples of our upper kids. But here's an example of a physics class where they were drawing how gravity and air resistance have an effect in forces. This was a video that I just took a quick screenshot on. What was very interesting with this was the student created a video that was explaining something. Then students were able to comment on that video or even add their own little video snippets in response to that other student's video. Very interesting what we're seeing there. Other samples where students had to do a science experiment using, I think in this case this was done on an iPad, this one, where the students running and they had to project where the target's going to land, as well as using different drawing type devices. This was in a bio class. This is a sample of a video that one of our students did in education. Basically, one of the things we're learning from the one-to-one is that things change very quickly. We started using Evernote in September. In November, they decided to change the entire interface and go to a brand new version. And as a result, students were like, oh no, what do I do? Teachers were like, oh, it's totally different. So one of our students chose to do a little video that helped their students learn how it works.
Today I'm going to teach you how to share your Evernote notebooks with other people. When you open it, at first this will be the screen that you see, and so you're going to want to click on Notebooks. So when you get to Notebooks, this is what you should see. So you're going to click on the notebook that you would like to choose. This is the one I chose. And it's going to open into your notebook. So you will have to click on this little arrow in the box. And this is what should come up. If it didn't come up, you did do something wrong. But you are going to click on Add People. After you click on Add People, this is what should come up. And you can send in, you have to put in the email of the person that you want to share this with. And also you can check if they can preview this without requiring to log in, which means they don't have to log in for them to see this. And then you can also add a message saying like, this is my Evernote notebook that I'm going to share with you or something. And then you're just going to click on invite. And then that should be it. That is how to share your Evernote notebooks with other people. So hope this helped. Bye.
Let me go back to the presentation here. So that, again, was just a sample of a student. They changed Evernote, so that night she went home and said, I'm just going to create a quick 2-minute video. And that's what we're finding. Video is very powerful in very small segments. That, just a little quick, here's something, here's this, here's that. I'm going to show you a little bit more in a second. Some of the things that we're also seeing are instant feedback. A lot of instant feedback going on. Socrative, which is a student response system. So the teacher maybe asks the students a question. The students will then be able to respond individually on their devices anonymously, or at least anonymously in such a way that they don't feel other students can see their answers. Yet the answers are then polled. So I can ask like an ABCD question, how tall is the Washington Monument? I don't remember the answer, sorry. But I can have a couple different answers. The students all answer it. And we can start to see, the teachers can immediately see, how the class is responding. It's actually graphed. They can make it so it's graphed so the students can see who's responding, not who's responding to what answers, but what answers are being responded to. And then afterwards, the teacher has the ability to go back in and see who responded to what and say, something? That student's maybe not getting it right. I can go see them later on and see where they're not following through or not getting it. Nearpod is a way of broadcasting the iPad so that in a classroom full of iPads, where I have 30 iPads, I can make mine, whatever's on my screen is shown on everybody else's screen. We're actually going to be starting an experiment with Google very soon, next month, called the teacher dashboard, which will allow the teacher to bring up any student's Chromebook screen on the projector at any time. So it'd be very powerful that they can be walking around the room and say, that's really great, let me bring that right up here. And bam, they can just kind of pretty much instantly bring it up on the screen, or vice versa. They can say, here's a great web page I want you all to have. Bam, and it'll open a new tab on each of their screens that will allow them to they'll immediately open that web page for everybody in the class. And then finally, we're seeing stuff with online tests and online quizzes using Google and a add-in called Flubaroo. Flubaroo, yeah, Flubaroo. That's right. Some of the stuff that teachers report about students, they're doing a lot more self-paced learning. So we're starting to see that shift from, everybody's trying to follow at the same pace, which is very difficult in the differentiated learning environment, to the ability for teachers to differentiate and students to learn at their own pace. Researching a lot more on their own. Students are in the class, they're listening to things, they're doing things at home, and they're just like, let me Google that, or what are they talking about, or kind of diving in deeper than they normally would have that capability of by not having that, by having the device at their fingertips. A lot more peer review. I showed in a sample before where there was a video the student did. Other students are now commenting on that. So a lot more, and especially with Google Docs and the Google sharing environment, they have that right at their fingertips now. So a lot more collaborative work, a lot more sharing going on. And then finally, they're taking advantage of that idea of 24/7 learning, that they're learning when it's best for them to learn. So I know Dr. Schiff has said in the past, when do people learn math the best? Is it at 7:40 in the morning? There is a student who's going to learn algebra at 7:40 in the morning, but a lot of our students will not necessarily. And so now they can go back and review and learn on their own time. And that brings us to some of the new instructional strategies that we're looking at. A big one that's happening is called flipping the classroom, that we're really starting to see take effect. There's so much educational video out there in Khan Academy and TED Ed that they're able to bring up videos or assign videos to students, which are, like I said, 5, maybe 10-minute little video clips that students can then pause, listen to, replay it again. And not only do they use those sources, they're creating their own. So kind of wrap up here, I'll show you a staff-created video, which, again, is another EduCreations in this case, where she assigned the students this 2-minute video to watch at home to explain something, and then students were able to...
Guys, I'm going to draw 3 graphs for you, and I want you to label in your notebook 1, 2, and 3. And then for each graph, 1, 2, and 3, I want you to describe the motion of an object given the graph I'm drawing you. So here's the first graph I'm going to draw. Remember, the time is on the x-axis, and distance is on the y. So if I drew a graph like this is number 1. In your Evernote Science Do Now section, I want you to write down what graph number 1 represents. Okay, here's graph number 2. Same thing. This time I'll just label time and distance. And now you have a line like this. In your Evernote Science Do Now section, write down what a line like this represents on a distance time graph. And here's your last graph. Same thing, here's time, here's distance, but now you have a line like this. So again, in your Do Now section of your Evernote account, write down what graph number 3 represents.
And that pretty much concludes my presentation at this point. So.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Handler. This evening was described